Good morning. I was afraid I'd probably offend half of you guys with my War Eagle, so I apologize for that. I gave them that bio the Friday before Auburn played Virginia in the Final Four, so I was feeling pretty good about myself. And then 24 hours later, I was throwing a temper tantrum about a non-call double dribble. I know I'm the last speaker before lunch, so I promise to be very, very brief. I do want to talk to you guys a little bit about Alabama Ag Credit. To begin with, just by show of hands, how many of you guys here are familiar with the Farm Credit System? Show of hands. Okay. What about Alabama Ag Credit? We used to be the Federal Land Bank. Okay. I notified our marketing department we need to do a little better job on that. But we are a government-sponsored enterprise. We are a financial cooperative. What that means to you is when you borrow money from us, you become a stockholder. And because of that, there are special privileges that you get with that, and a lot of that has to do with your voting rights in terms of board of directors. You can actually serve as a board director, be my boss if you so choose. But the main thing that we do that's different from a lot of commercial banks is that we offer a patronage dividend. So we actually, in March of every year, we return a portion of the interest that you pay us back to you. To give you an idea, last year we returned over $9.1 million to our customers. It's pretty significant. But as far as Alabama Ag Credit goes, we serve the lower 40 counties of Alabama. Pretty much anything south of Tuscaloosa we handle. We have 10 offices. I work out of the Monroeville office. Over 80 employees. Last year we crossed the $1 billion threshold in assets. And again, like I mentioned, we gave back over $9.1 million to our customers. Now, what do? We're an ag lender. We specialize in nothing. Don't come to us for credit cards and cars and things like that. We're an ag lender. We do lines of credit for row crop, for cattle, poultry, swine, oysters, anything ag in nature, timber deeds. We're big in that. Obviously, timber is a huge commodity for us in this area of the state, where across the state altogether. We do farming equipment, rural home site loans, rural home loans, permanent financing. And most importantly, what I'm here to talk to you about today is land financing. That makes up the majority of what we do. I would say probably 65 to 70% of our portfolio is land lending. If you're in this room, you either inherited land, you pay cash for land, or you finance land. And I can only help you with the latter. So let me tell you what we do. We will finance up to 85% of the appraised value or sales price, whichever is less. That puts 15% coming out of your pocket. Now that does range from transaction to transactions. Sometimes it's a bigger tract. We're talking a million plus. We may require a little bit more down, but typically it's 15% down. We do not require that 15% be in cash. So if you have other ag assets that are working for you currently, another piece of property, we can take that as collateral in lieu of cash. So a lot of folks we deal with, cash is king, right? So you want to keep cash on hand to make improvements to the property and other things. So we allow them to put other ag assets in lieu of cash. So 85% loan to value. We can actually go out 30 years if you need to. I'm not a big proponent of doing that. If you ask me personally, I would rather you pay it off shorter if you can, saves you on interest. But if you need a 30-year term, we can certainly do that for you. And I know the question I've gotten asked so many times today out in the hall is interest rates. I wish I could. One reason I don't have a slide up here is because I know you hold me to it. So I gave you an interest rate. I'll just tell you that the longer the term, obviously the higher the interest rate. We are still in a historically low interest rate environment. I know that don't seem appropriate because the last few years the rates have gone up, but we're in a little better economy than we was a few years back as well. So rates have crept up a little bit. Our rates follow the 10-year treasury, so you can always know kind of where we stand, which way rates are trending based on the 10-year treasury. Obviously, I mentioned that it's commensurate with other things as well, as far as your credit, your financial background, your liquidity, and obviously how much money you're willing to put down on the property as well. Things that we look at in terms of getting a loan approved, I just mentioned credit quality. The baseline we look at is a 675 credit score. I'll tell you this, I have turned down people with credit scores higher than 675, and I have approved people with credit scores lower than 675. And that's all to say that it's not the end-all be-all. It is something we look at, but it's not everything. The second, probably most important thing that we look at is payback capacity. We look at that in terms of your debt to income, how much debt you have in relation to income, and also what we call the debt service coverage ratio, which is basically your income adjusted for taxes and living expenses as an inverse relationship to your debt. So we want to make sure you have at least 115% or more in income to debt. So pretty, not real strenuous, it's not super conservative, but we do want to look at that. Another thing that we like to look at, or we will look at, is solvency, your net worth. Obviously, when we get a financial statement, we'll look at your assets versus your liabilities and get your equity position and see, in case, if something were to fall on hard times, what can you liquidate to pay us off? That's something we look at. We like for that to be about 40%. So for every dollar in assets you have, we want you to have about 40 cents on a dollar in equity. That's just a starting point. The more, the better. Obviously, everything I'm telling you here is the better the scenario, the lower the rate, the lower the risk for us, so it's better for you. Another thing that we take into consideration is we're calling the current ratio. It's essentially your cash position as you are, anything less than 1 year in assets versus anything less than 1 year in liabilities. Okay, we want to see, make sure you have enough liquidity on hand to handle any kind of obstacle that comes before you. Other than that, the process is really, really quick. I know you hear a lot of horror stories of people who go buy home loans, and it takes a long, long time. You sign a lot of paperwork. Well, with us, it's a little different. Typically, we can close in less than 30 days. I did close a loan at the end of December in 13 days. We had everything up front on that. I had a lot of cooperation from the buyer, from the seller, and from that real estate agent. So we were able to close in 13 days. Things we'll get from you. Obviously, an application we'll get from you. We'll get a personal financial statement. We'll get an income verification from you, whether that's via a tax return, or 1099, or K-1s if you own a company, or whether that's pay stubs. We'll get all that information so we can project income accurately. We'll also get liquidity verifications on you to make sure we can verify that current ratio I just talked about, and a driver's license. Pretty much, if we have that info, we can move forward really, really quick on it. The process for that is simply getting that information in. We'll send it to underwriting to be underwritten. Hopefully we'll have an approval back for you. That's the goal, right? And then we'll move forward with ordering an appraisal and title work. Again, this can be done in probably, I would say on average, probably 21 to 24 days is kind of what we run on that. When we secure on your property, we do secure on the land and any improvements on that property. So whether that's a house or whether that's a barn or whether that's timber, we just got to talk about timber. The house and any improvements, we will require insurance on it if we assign a value to it. If we do not assign a value to that, we will not require you to have insurance on it. If we do file UCCs on timber, that does not mean that you cannot cut your timber. All that means is that we have a lien against your timber, and when you get ready to sell that, you will give us a timber contract like the gentleman before me was just speaking about, a cruise on that timber, so that we know exactly how much timber you're taking out, and then we'll do what we call a partial release. So we'll release that timber to be cut. Now, a percentage of that will have to come back to us because we're reducing our collateral value by that amount. But we don't require every bit of it to come to us. Most people, I would tell you, do put it down as a principal down payment on their loan to reduce the principal on it, and then we'll turn around and do a re-amortization on it to lower their payment, or maybe do a rate conversion where we go from maybe a 20-year down to a 10-year to get a lower rate. And we do that very often. We have a lot of big timber guys who will come in and buy large tracts and go in and be cut. We'll take that, apply it to the principal of the loan, do a re-amortization on the loan, do a rate conversion for them to get them a lower rate, and And that's all without going through the whole approval process again. We kind of handle that in-house, meaning as long as we don't extend the maturity of the mortgage, we don't have to do another title work, another title search, and we just do an updated appraisal. So we're very, very flexible when it comes to that. And I think because of that, it kind of gives us a niche market with you guys. I know I've talked to a lot of you guys who use us, and for that, we're very, very thankful. If you don't use Alabama Ag Credit, I would advise you to get in contact with somebody in the farm credit system, even if it's not Alabama Ag Credit, because like I said, we're already a government-sponsored enterprise, and our niche is agriculture. And for us here, it's timber. It's heavy timber. I know I ran through that really, really quick. I know you guys we have a booth right outside, so if you guys want to talk and chat, if you have any questions now, feel free to ask, and I'll, to the best of my ability, will answer those questions. If not, we have a booth outside, and I'll be more than glad to answer at that time. Thank you, guys.